Hello and welcome to the Retire to a Life You Love podcast with your host, Michelle Gessner. I'm Wendy McConnell. Hi, Michelle. We're kind of matching today. We're feeling a little red.
Yeah. Did you get the memo? Because I sent it out today.
No, it was all coincidental. We're like that. We know.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we know what each
Mental
other is thinking.
telepathy. Yeah. So red is the color today.
Yes.
And the topic today is one of the largest financial transactions you can make usually in your lifetime. So we're going to talk about mistakes to avoid.
Oh, not shoes.
Not shoes. Oh, shoes. For you, Wendy, it's shoes.
Okay.
But for everybody else, it's real estate, right? So
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So when you are selling a house, and that's usually people's largest asset, you sell a house, you want to do it right, and you don't want to leave money on the table or go through unnecessary headaches. So I am not a realtor, and I don't profess to be a realtor, but I can tell you, having seen some transactions like this, and being close to a recent sale of a piece of property, I'd like to go through some of the mistakes that I think people ought to attempt to avoid.
Okay. So are we going to do this in the order of worst mistakes, or we're just going to randomly pick mistakes?
We're going to randomly pick. I don't know which is the worst and which one isn't. So in no particular order,
Yeah.
we're going to cover about 6 today.
Okay.
Provided that we don't go over our allotted time, we're going to attempt to do 6.
All right. Well, let's get started with number 1.
Sure. So mistake number 1, you don't do any of the repairs that you know should be done on your house, and you just kind of accumulate them over the years, and you just wait until you're ready to sell, and then you'll get all those repairs and things done at that time. That is a mistake. Why?
Okay.
Because it can be not only financially overwhelming, but it's physically overwhelming to try to tackle all these things at the same time. And make no mistake about it, buyers are picky, especially now. They are, because interest rates are fairly high. Now, whether or not they get reduced soon or not, they're still going to be high.
Right.
And when interest rates are high, that means there's fewer buyers, and it's a bit of a buyer's market. So that just makes it even more important to understand that buyers want these things done, and they're going to ask you to do it. So don't think that they're not going to see these things.
Right.
So I'm going to give you some examples, right? So there are some things that can wait, like repainting the interior of your house. Okay, if you can live with the way it looks, then yeah, you can wait till you're ready to sell to do the repainting, interior, exterior. Maybe you wait on that. But things that can't wait: installing gutters, making sure your property has proper drainage. Because if you don't have gutters, now you have all this water that can impact the foundation. Now you have foundation issues that can be expensive. Drainage is important. Your air conditioning. Do you want to have to buy a brand new air conditioning unit? Because if it's not working, if you're not doing maintenance, you could have a problem there.
And it always breaks on the hottest day of the year.
Of course it does. Murphy's Law. That's how it works. Your lawn, your shrubbery. Are you paying attention to that? Because the buyer may not even want to see your house if it doesn't have curb appeal.
Right.
And now you have to replace your lawn or the shrubbery. Your roof, same thing. Buyers don't want to have a roof that's a mess. So, you got to take care of that and make sure that that's in good repair. Your fence. I mean, I could keep going, but you get the idea.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So get those repairs done as they come up. Don't bundle them together. Mistake number 2. Now you're ready to sell, and you're pricing your house too high or too low. Now, how do you know what's too high or too low? That's where the professional realtor comes in. You get interviews with multiple realtors. It's not a science. It's more of an art. So if you can get, sit down with a couple, you'll quickly learn what the right price should be. There's going to be a range, and you get the house priced properly. Now, you may still end up pricing it too high, and so you may have to come down And that's okay. It's okay to come down. It's not okay to go up.
No.
So nobody wants to see the price go up, but you can come down. Now, the thing to remember though, is if you price your house maybe too high and you come down, buyers love to see a price reduction. That attracts attention, but don't expect that those buyers are going to factor that in when they make an offer. So if you're thinking, oh, well, my house, I just gave a $20,000 reduction, so I'm not gonna accept anything below what I just reduced it to. Guess again.
Right.
The buyers want to make an offer lower than what you price it at.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. That's the way it is. So they're going to expect you to come down from there.
Right.
And I have something to say about the cash allowances. So I don't know if this is something that you've seen, but buyers want cash at closing. So don't get too surprised if you have an offer from a buyer that wants you to give them some cash at closing time. It could be $5,000, it could be $10,000, somewhere in there. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying it's a thing. And they're going to ask.
I don't think I'm familiar with this thing. They're getting cash for what?
Exactly. For what? for their convenience, for closing costs, for the hell of it, that sort of thing. So how that works, let's say you priced your house. Let's say the agreed upon price is $100,000, right?
Okay.
I'm just making that up.
Easy math.
So that's the agreed upon price. And they want $5,000 of that $100,000 to come back to them in cash. So really what you're getting as a seller is $95,000. So they're going to finance, the bank sees the price as $100,000 and they work out their financing on that price. But you have to turn around and give $5,000 at closing. So you're really only getting $95,000.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either, but it's very common. And
really, I've never heard. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of someone covers the selling costs and then that kind of thing, but I've never heard of cash back.
Well, it can also be a function of what needs to be done around the house that you didn't do. So there's that often happens. But I've seen it where you've done all those things and they still want cash at closing.
Okay.
So you can ask them to raise the price then. Let's say you wanted that same $100,000 and they want $5,000 at closing. You can say, okay, I'll give you $5,000 at closing. Now the price is $105,000.
Right.
And I'll turn around and give you the $5,000 at closing. It's done.
Okay.
Why do they do that? Because they want the cash and they're not going to get it from the bank.
Okay. All right. I guess I can see that. All right.
But
so what else is a problem, Michelle?
This is a big problem, and it's a financial problem, not saving your receipts over the years of ownership for capital improvements that you might have made. Now, what is a capital improvement? It's not maintenance and repair. Maintenance and repair is something that you have to do to just keep the house in good order, like painting it or repairing the air conditioning. A capital improvement, using that same example with the air conditioning, you didn't repair the air conditioning, you replaced the air conditioning. So a capital improvement is replacing something, whereas a repair is just repairing it. Another example, the roof. You didn't patch the roof, that's maintenance or repair.
Right.
You replaced the roof, that's a capital improvement.
So you want to keep the receipt to prove how old it is.
You want to keep the receipts to prove that you don't have to lower your capital gain. So let me tell you why you want to do that. So let's say you sell that house and you make a profit over what you bought the house at. Let's say that $100,000 that you sold the house for. Let's say you bought the house for $50,000. So that's a $50,000 profit, right?
Right.
Now, if you live in the house, I should use bigger numbers because when you live in the house at your primary residence, there is an exemption from the capital gains tax on that $50,000 gain. So if you, for example, if you live in your primary residence for at least 2 out of the last 5 years, it's your primary residence, Uncle Sam gives you an exemption from any capital gains tax on a gain from the sale of that property of $250,000 if you are filing as a single person, and $500,000 if you're filing as a married person.
Okay.
So, for example, that same capital gain example is not big enough, but let's just say you had a $50,000 gain. All right, well, your $250,000 exemption from living in the house as a primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years covers that $50,000, so there's no capital gains tax on that. But let's say now, let's make it $1 million. And let's say you bought it at 500,000, or we'll say you bought it at 400,000. Okay.
Okay.
You bought the house at 400,000. You sold it at $1 million. That's a $600,000 gain.
Right.
You're married filing jointly. So that married filing jointly exemption is 500,000. So 500,000 of the $600,000 gain is not going to be subject to capital gains tax, but 100,000 is.
Okay.
Now, how do I tie that back to the receipts I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So if I did $100,000 worth of capital improvements over the years, I can use that to apply towards that $100,000 gain. And now I don't have to pay capital gains tax on that $100,000.
All right. So let me ask you what, we had our whole kitchen redone. Is any part of that like what was the word you used? I'm sorry. The
capital improvement. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And to be sure, you should consult with your tax advisor.
Okay.
But in general, this is general advice. When you're remodeling a kitchen, that's not repairing anything. That's doing a replacement. So that is a capital improvement. So you should save those receipts to prove that you had a capital improvement so you can close that gap. You can apply it towards any profit should you sell your house. Now, people may not be planning to sell their house for a while. So what do? They get lazy. They get forgetful.
Yeah.
They don't save those receipts. Who cares? I'm not selling my house. But now fast forward 20 years and you're selling your house, you're going to want those receipts because who wants to pay capital gains tax if you don't need to?
Right.
But as far as Uncle Sam is concerned, if you don't have the receipt, it didn't happen.
And it doesn't really matter how long ago it was. Say if I sell the house in 20 years.
Nope. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Gotcha.
As long as you had ownership of that house. And again, it has to be a primary residence. So if this is a secondary residence that you're renting out to a tenant, you don't live there, these exemptions do not apply.
Right.
The capital gain receipts example, those of course,
right.
Those apply. You just don't get that exemption. So it's even more important to save your receipts when you have a secondary residence.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah. So the description on the property on the MLS listing. So, you're selling your property. It's for sale on all of the websites out there, Zillow and Redfin and whatever else is out there. Somebody wrote that description. Maybe it's you if you're selling it yourself, or maybe it's your realtor if they're selling it for you. And realtors do a great job of painting a picture that gives emotion. This house, picture yourself relaxing in this house. You see those descriptions, and those are great. Mm-hmm. But what has to also be included from a practical standpoint is what is going to make a buyer really happy, which is to know that you replaced that roof, that you replaced that plumbing, that it has a new AC. Don't forget to make sure those are in the description. Maybe there are pictures that don't show his and hers walk-in closets or all those storage spaces that are just not shown by the pictures. Buyers want storage space. That's important. Yeah. So if it's not in the description through pictures and it's something functional that's super attractive to a would-be buyer, I say put it in that written description, or they may not even go see your house to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I live near a beach area, and it's very popular to have outside showers in this area. So that's something that is often included in a description of the house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if it's not in a picture, again, how does the buyer know? It's not in the pictures. It's not in the description. If that's important to buyers in your area, you should have that stated. And don't assume the realtor is going to catch every little thing.
Right. Got it.
Next mistake, the inspection report. So typically a buyer is going to order an inspection to make sure the house is in good order, to see what needs to be done, what they're signing up for, so to speak. So they get that inspection report. Now, if they don't share it with you, then you don't have to disclose it as a seller. But if they share it with you, if they send that report to you or your realtor, you now have to share it to the next buyer. If that buyer walks away and says, you know what, I don't really like your house, I'm not going to buy it, and they've shared this inspection report with you, you now are obligated to share that with any future buyers. So that means you kind of have to get that stuff done, or you at the very least need to document in writing what you did or didn't do. Maybe you feel that something on that report doesn't need to be done. Well, you need to explain why. Because if you don't do that and the next prospective buyer has that report in hand and there's no information, they're just going to assume that nothing got done and it's a problem.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. So, how do you know if it's shared with the seller though?
Well, if their agent or they don't, maybe they're not using an agent, if they share it with you through email or in person or your agent, which would be your realtor, then it's shared. You now have it.
Okay, I'm just thinking about, there was a house that we put a bid on that once we got the report from the inspector, we decided not to purchase the house. So I don't know if that was shared with them or not. I really just, I don't
Well,
know.
you were the buyer in that case, right?
Right, yes.
I'm
So-
talking about you're the seller.
No, I know, but that's what I
Yeah.
mean. I don't know if the seller then got that list of
Oh, absolutely
inspection.
they did.
Okay.
They
All
did.
right.
They have to, you walked away. Now they have that. It's kind of like an albatross around their neck. Now
Okay.
the scarlet letter, they have to now share that with
Gotcha.
for all to see. You walked away. They can't say, "Oh, Wendy walked away." Well, we're not doing any of these things, and no one needs to know. Oh, absolutely, they need to know. They have to know by law, and so now they've got your list of whatever those were in the inspection report. Grievances, yeah, and inspectors are paid to be meticulous and nitpicky.
Yes.
So
they're tough.
They are, and they're going to find things even, there's weather stripping missing from the front door.
Yeah.
And you didn't clean your fireplace, and there's water damage on the soffit near the roof in this little spotter. Oh, you're missing one GFCI electrical plug in the kitchen. So guess what? You either need to explain why you didn't fix that in writing and have it done before the next buyer even sees the report, or get, or state that you did it and when you did it.
Okay. Understood.
So it's a pain.
I didn't know that part. I can imagine now that is really, kind of a problem, at times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's no picnic selling a house.
No.
In case you haven't picked that up by now. And here's my last mistake to avoid. And this is a big one. Not paying strict attention to that seller's disclosure that you, as the seller, have to fill out and sign. Okay. Now, this is not a document to skim through. You better look at every little thing with your strict attention to detail. Here's why. When you sign that seller's disclosure and you say, these are questions, did this ever happen? Has your property ever flooded? Whatever the question is, I think the answer is yes, no, or I don't know.
Right.
So if you put no, you better be sure. And here's why. If the buyer buys your property, given whatever it is that you said in the seller's disclosure, and then they find out and can prove that this was previously known and you said no, they can sue you for treble damages.
Okay.
It's no joke.
And what are treble damages?
That's a legal term that means times 3.
Oh, so it's like punitive.
It is punitive. I'm going to give you a couple of examples.
Okay.
So someone I know was headed to the closing table. They made an offer on a house. The seller accepted the offer. Everything was on schedule. They're going to go close on this house. And on the final day, right before the closing, the buyer did a final walkthrough, and the house is now completely vacant. And they noticed that the beautiful marble countertops, there was this big, ugly, circular stain that they had not seen before. Well, the reason they hadn't seen it before is it was hidden by a lazy Susan that was sitting on the countertop. Now, the lazy Susan is gone. house is vacant, and they've got this big, ugly stain that was not disclosed. They almost walked away, and they could have actually sued. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to get into all the legal ramifications. The story ends with a positive ending. They were able to work this out, and I believe that the buyer got some money to fix this. But that's an example of, hey, come on, you knew that was there. You hid it, and you didn't disclose it.
Right. Because if they don't want to put a Lazy Susan there, then they need to replace the countertop.
That's right, because it significantly changes the marble countertop.
Right.
And it's expensive to fix that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's one more example. And this happened, both of these are real examples. This one happened to someone I know very well. This person went ahead and bought the house. The owner, the seller, did not use a realtor, didn't know anything about the seller's disclosure and why they shouldn't lie, and marked on that seller's disclosure that the house had never flooded. None of the structures anywhere near the house had had any flood or flood damage. So after the buyer bought the house, within the first week after closing, there was a rain, and it wasn't even a big torrential rain. It was just a regular rain, and the garage flooded, just the garage.
Okay.
And so professionals were brought out to take a look, and there were telltale signs of water damage and floods that had occurred prior. With picture, there's a water line. You could see it.
Right.
So that buyer went back to the seller. Now, it was clear that the seller marked no on the seller's disclosure. That buyer could have sued the seller for triple damages. In this particular case, they didn't, but the seller was forced to do the repair to fix this, or else get sued. One of the other, I think the buyer was actually pretty easy on the seller.
Right.
But you don't want to mess around with those seller's disclosures.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So I don't know if selling your house is in your future, but if it is, or someone you know, look out for some of these mistakes. Try not to make them, and happy selling.
All right. Well, sounds good, Michelle. Thank you so much for all of those tips and mistakes to avoid. We appreciate it. If somebody has some more questions for you, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, the best way to reach us is to visit our website. All the contact information is there, GessnerWealthStrategies.com.
All right. Thanks so much. And thank you for tuning in today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to Retire to a Life You Love with Michelle Gessner from Gessner Wealth Strategies. We hope you were inspired to take steps to your financial freedom as you learned new techniques and strategies for managing your finances. To learn more about how you can improve your financial landscape, visit our website at www.gessnerwealthstrategies.com. That's GESSNER wealthstrategies.com. Or give Michelle and her team a call at 713-589-6448. And don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes are available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Michelle Gessner or Gessner Wealth Strategies. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.